Oh boy. I'm not even looking at the camera. Hi, I'm Victoria. Thank you for clicking on this video. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you checking this out. It's probably gonna be a short video today because this morning I finished reading Midnight Sun, our lovely Twilight from Edward's perspective. And I started reading it in October last year. So I have no notes on this, didn't even tab anything. That wasn't what I was thinking of at the time when I was reading it. I hadn't really thought about doing a review for this for YouTube because I'd started reading it a while ago and it wasn't one of my priorities back then to think about whether or not I was going to make this YouTube channel, which obviously I have. There were some things that I just wanted to kind of talk about a little bit. It's not going to be an in-depth review of any sort. That's where we're at today. Midnight Sun. What is there to say about Midnight Sun? I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads because I did enjoy reading it for nostalgia reasons. I read all the Twilight books when I was in middle school, and as a middle schooler, I absolutely adored them. Particularly New Moon. New Moon was my favorite because I always preferred the werewolves over the vampires. I also really liked the movies when I was growing up. What was it? Twilight came out in 2008. I didn't see it then because I was 9. But when I was in high school, middle school, high school, around there, and I watched them, I really enjoyed them. I still do enjoy watching them, even if it makes me cringe half the time, especially in, the first one. But it all comes down to nostalgia with me when it comes to the Twilight universe, the Twilight Saga. I don't know how necessary this book really was from a plot perspective, other than giving Twilight fans the opportunity to finally read from Edward's perspective about the whole situation and everything that happened in the first Twilight. As I've gotten older, I'm only in my 20s, I recognize now what I could not recognize as a middle schooler about Bella and Edward's relationship. I see it really from this book because it is from Edward's perspective. We all know how Edward feels about himself and, his perspective on, I'm a vampire, Bella shouldn't be with me, she'll want to become a vampire and I don't want to take her human life away from her. Which, I guess it's noble of him to consider, hey, maybe I shouldn't turn this girl into a vampire. This 17-year-old into a vampire. I've lost my train of thought. Kind of going back to what I said is, as I've gotten older, it's so easy for me to recognize the red flags that come along with Edward Cullen. Now, it's fiction. I'm not looking into it that deep. I don't think when Stephenie Meyer went and wrote Twilight in the first place, I don't think she was going out there to be like, oh, I'm just going to write about this unhealthy relationship with a power imbalance and we're just going to go from there. I'm not saying any of this because I think that's what she intended. Because, of course, she had to kind of write within her limitations. She had to write based off of the character of Edward that we saw in Twilight. I think he was true to who we kind of thought he was, based off of Bella's perception of him and her interactions with him and everything that happened, especially in the first Twilight book, because this is, this only takes place within the same time frame as the first Twilight book. But he's much more creepy from his perspective. I'm almost kind of glad that I read this because I can kind of reaffirm that for myself. Be like, yeah, he is creepy. While physically he may not look much older than Bella, he is, I almost said centuries, he is decades older than her. He's, 90 years older than her? It's a thing. But of course, that's an issue you're going to run into with vampire fiction just because of the notion of immortal vampires falling in love with humans who are, more often than not, quite a bit younger than them. It's unfortunately what happens when you're writing in a world like this where there's vampires and werewolves that can essentially live forever. So you're gonna run into stuff like that. Edward's creepiness was like a whole new level, and I wish I had put some tabs in here to pull out those specific moments where I was like, oh my god, he's creepy. But all I can really think of are every single night when he basically becomes obsessed with Bella, and he decides that he's gonna go watch her sleep in her room, which, you know, we see how often he does it. I don't think any of us really realized how often he did it in Twilight, because we would have had no way of knowing. We only knew what Bella knew. Not quite sure she understood how often he was doing it too. It's a thing. It was a choice, but it was established before that Edward liked to watch Bella sleep, so it's part of the book. It's what Stephenie Meyer had to work with. That being said, I did think it was kind of refreshing to read from Edward's perspective, and I say this only because we got to see more of the world than we otherwise missed. So we got this insight into his relationship with his family, his relationship to other people in the town, kind of his thought process, and how he blends in with people. Granted, it doesn't help that his power is to... I almost dropped my book. It doesn't help that his power is to read people's minds, so he's pretty much always intruding on people's privacy, and that's pretty much impossible for him to avoid, unless he's, like, entirely focused on Bella, so he moves from one creepy thing to another creepy thing. It's just interesting. I definitely noticed that Bella had more of a personality in Midnight Sun than she did in Twilight. I think that could, one, be Stephenie Meyer trying to give her more personality than perhaps she did in Twilight and subsequent rest of the books. And also, I think that could in part be due to Edward's perspective, and he basically worships the ground she walks on, so he's gonna think really highly of her, think she's amazing. Bella herself is pretty sure at one point she said she's not interesting in this book, so it would make total sense that in the books, from her point of view, she doesn't think she's very interesting, so she's not going to come across that way to the reader, which of course doesn't help our reading experience, but I guess that's true to her character, that she would kind of portray herself that way, is boring. Or those are the two things I thought of when I kind of realized that Bella had more of a personality in this book. Granted, I am going totally based off of what I can remember from reading this book, because honestly, without notes, I'm speaking very generally about the whole book rather than specific moments. And I certainly haven't read Twilight in a long time, so I don't remember exactly what happened. I do think I read on a Goodreads review that there was a scene in here between Edward and Bella that was never in Twilight. I don't know, can't confirm it. I do have a copy of Twilight, but I don't know that I'm quite ready to go back into reading from the Twilight universe again, so I think we're gonna kind of leave it at that. I think if you are a Twilight fan, you will enjoy this book. I did. I was certainly aware every time Edward did something creepy or questionable or just, was a dick. That's really all I have to say about this. I mean, I read it purely because I was curious about it. Honestly, I think sometime soon I'm going to go back and reread through the whole Twilight Saga. I don't know that I will review them because I feel like at this point enough people have really reviewed them. I don't think I can add anything. And also, I just want to enjoy reading them again, while now being older and experiencing a healthy romantic relationship, I can enjoy them without overlooking the red flags in the books. That's all I have to say. I wish this was a longer video. I honestly have no idea how long this is going to be by the time I'm done editing it. I think that that's it. Thank you for watching this video, for watching my review of Midnight Sun. Bye.